And now, as anticipated, I call here on the stage Ms. Pau Pitarch, Tourism and Sustainable Development Expert, co-founder partner of Pax Tourism Advisors. Please, Pau.
Thank you.
Pau will guide our conversation with the project that has participated and worked on this topic.
Grazie mille, Amelia. Bon dia a tothom. Buongiorno. Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure. It's a day of sharing knowledge. It's a moment to share where are the challenges in circular economy. Thank you, David. The paper is excellent, and we think we are all learning also about this document that I haven't read all of it, but I will do. I like to set the scene for the discussion. I would like to start with a small concept. Give me 2 minutes before I invite the rest of the members of the panel, which is, in tangible terms, it represents the scale of the challenge we face when we talk about circular economy. And this concept is the Earth Overshoot Day. I think that some of you are familiar with this concept of Earth Overshooting Day, no? But I was reviewing some notes, and it's important because this indicator makes the date that when humanity, all of us as societies, we have consumed all the natural resources that the Earth can generate every year. From this point onwards, we are effectively operating in ecological deficit. So when we set the day of Earth Overshooting Day, it means that after that day, we are taking the resources of another planet that doesn't exist. And this links directly to this idea of circular economy. It's what we all do to make sure that we prevent from using all the resources that this planet has. So we make sure that we effectively operate in non-ecological deficit. We draw up the natural capital, so we make sure that we do not accumulate waste. The 3 magic words that are linked to the principles of circular economy, no? So designing based on non-waste, waste management, and also regeneration of the ecosystems, the 3 main ideas of the circular economy. If we have a look at the global trend, and we go back to the 1970s, in the prior session, they were talking about the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona. I go 20 years back. In the 1970s, the overshoot day happened to be at the end of December. So we were, at some way, using the resources that this beautiful planet was able to provide. December. But today, it arrives late July or early August. In other words, from July or August, again, we are using resources from another planet that doesn't exist. Again, circular economy is crucial to make sure that we don't fall into a crash. Another idea, last June the 5th, few days ago, the date we celebrate the World Environment Day, the Global Footprint Network, which is the association that sets every year, this Overshoot Day, announced that the Global Earth Overshoot Day for this year's 2026 falls on July 30th. So in 1 month from now, we're running out of resources of the planet. And when we bring this idea for the beginning closer to home, which means the Mediterranean, the commitment for this convention, the signal becomes even more relevant and dramatic, I would say. If every one of us, the ones that you are attending to this session, lived with the consumption patterns of some of the countries that the panelists will represent now, have an idea. We have a member from Malta, and the Overshoot Day in Malta was in April 16th, 2026. The Overshoot Day in Croatia was April 15th. In Italy, on May the 3rd. And in Spain and Greece, as well, on June the 4th. So we will have, in a minute, some panelists sharing tools, mechanisms, projects related to the paper and the circular economy, and all of the countries they are coming from, they're running out of resources. So that's my introduction to this super panel that I'm very, very proud to moderate and conduct, because this transition is not only about reducing impacts, it's also about strengthening resilience, it's about improving the resource efficiency, and enhancing competitiveness, and especially for those SMEs that David was explaining. The 96% of the companies of the tourism sector in Spain are SMEs. So we need to make sure that all these SMEs, all the humans, all the persons that are involved in the tourism sector, they are clear on what needs to happen in order to reduce this overshoot day. So in this sense, the session is focused on solutions, you will explain now, and our objective is not just to inspire, but also to make circularity more tangible, more real, less intellectual, more actionable for all the sector. So I hope you enjoy it. Yes, now it's turn to call my colleagues, please. So come to the stage, Mr. Alessandro Miraglia, team leader, network and partnership of the Loop Zone project representative. Thank you, Alessandro. I'm also calling Guido Capana, professor at the University of Urbino, sustainable tourism and experience design expert, and Gian Andrea Garancini. The two of them, they come from the MAST project as representatives. Also, Mrs. Giulia Bonello. Hi, Giulia. She comes from Malta, and she's the representative for the Recircle Med project. And finally, Mr. Boris Golob, who's coming from the University of Rijeka, and what is coming? Boris is here. Okay, and he's the representative of the Green Set project. Thank you also, Boris. We're missing one chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I will put it here. Don't worry.
Thank you.
We should all go a bit.
We can move up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should
it's
all
fine.
move a bit to the left, maybe.
Shall we move?
You have room?
Well, thank you. This is going to be very casual, no? That's what we prepared a few days ago. The idea is that we generate dialogue, conversation. Obviously, they represent, as mentioned in the paper, projects that have been happening during the last periods, and some of them they're starting now. So I kindly ask to start the session, that each one of you present briefly what is the project, which are the initiatives, obviously focusing on the idea of the topic of our panel. So let's start with this, and I ask that we can start with you, Alessandro, if it's fine for you. And please, the floor is yours. Do we have the slider here? Yeah.
Oops. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much to Community for Tourism to invite Medways as representative of the Loop Zone to deliver this short presentation of our initiative. Loop Zone takes on one of the most visible challenge within the Mediterranean region, which is the plastic waste crisis and its consequences on the marine environment. We aim to create Loop Zone low plastic zones where municipality, tourism, businesses, and local innovators come together and act together in order to prevent plastic to enter the environment and actually phasing out from single-use plastic. I wanted to start with, let's say, the representation of what is our stakeholder ecosystem within the project and what are their main challenges. We start from the assumption that a plastic crisis is not about managing waste. It is actually a clear sign of what is broken into in this current linear economic system. And to fix it, we look at several strategic and systemic levers that can enable a shift toward a circular economy of plastics. And in this sense, we are using a very specific need-based approach. So if we pick up on this idea, on this assumption, we can see that there is within the ecosystem a number of different flows, let's say, and threats that need to be taken care of. At institutional level, we work with municipalities, and local authorities have a great pressure right now to translate into practical and actionable regulation, what are the directive, and what are the, let's say, the European acquis burden that is coming in terms of sustainability regulation, and specifically on banning single-use plastic. Also, at local level, normally policy leadership relies on a vast consensus, need to have several, let's say, very close stakeholders on board for such transformations. But also this is normally, let's say, addressed with bilateral political engagement, if you know what I mean. Imagine a very small municipality on an island where you have to cater to the needs of actually every single citizen you will know for sure face by face in person. At the level of the, let's say, main target of our project, the HoReCa sector, there is, of course, a big responsibility. They are normally pointed out as the main responsible for the use of affordable and plastic-intensive plastic items, let's say, to carry out their economic activity. And it's always difficult, let's say, for this sector, which relies on marginal profits, seasonal economy, to do big investments, specifically for small companies, to do big investment in order to transform their business model. And finally, what should be, let's say, the solution to all this, which is an emergent entrepreneurial ecosystem, or let's call it circular economy in innovation ecosystem? It is often, let's say, underlooked. They struggle to access market, to have some sort of matchmaking processes with what are the, let's say, the main actor they should provide with this solution, and they normally do not sit, let's say, on the right policy dialogue space and table. So for this reason, it's not working.
Next slide.
Yeah. For this reason, we have started. Thank you. We have started this low plastic zone model, which was originally developed with the support of the GIZ, building on a pioneering methodology of the Save the Med Foundation in the Balearic Islands. And through Medways and the Barcelona Convention for the Protection of the Mediterranean, what we have tried to do is to basically transfer this in a contextualized and tailored way, basically from the Balkans to North Africa. Loop Zone, this strategic territorial project funded by Interreg Euromed, gave us the opportunity, let's say, to integrate a more systemic perspective, basically relying also on the supply side, and this is why the entrepreneurial ecosystem is there. And starting, let's say, with an analysis, with an assessment of what is the problem, using a common, let's say, understanding and common framework of analysis. But of course, understanding the problem is only, let's say, the starting point. So we use this slide to explain this sort of three pillar model that is addressing key barriers identified, of course, in the previous analysis. We work with local authorities, where we support municipality, let's say, both in terms of setting out the needed regulations to move forward to a plastic-free tourism sector, but also supporting them in, let's say, structuring what are the policy dialogue mechanism. So having everybody on board with the same, let's say, somehow right and with the same voice in order to establish the common perspective and solution. In the second pillar, we target, of course, HoReCa sector. It is a let's say, work that provides mainly technical assistance and incentive. There is a specific methodology through an audit system on their own, let's say, business model, and how much they rely on plastic and what are alternative solutions. And the third pillar is basically relying on the support of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, both, let's say, with technical assistance, but also, let's say, connecting them again to the HoReCa sector, so trying to match-make their solution with what is the demand in terms of sustainable alternatives for the HoReCa sector, and of course local authority to establish what is a common framework for an actually territorial transition, for an actual territorial transition model at island level. And we'll stop here. Thank you.
Excellent, Alessandro. Thank you very much for the detail. Very interesting project regarding plastic, zero plastic, and all these elements that when we talk about waste management are crucial, how we support in these zones that you mentioned. Let's give the word to Guido and Gian Andrea, please. And they're going to present us the MUST project, the MUST Plus, or whatever the
MUST
update
and MUST
is.
Plus.
Yes?
Must minus.
Must minus.
MUST minus.
In this case, must minus. Good morning, everyone. MUST, that means Making Sustainable Tourism Possible. This is the acronym of our project. Start from a simple observation that all we know also this morning, that in the Mediterranean, tourism is made of small and micro enterprises. So at the same time, almost every sustainability tool, sustainable method that we can find in the market was designed with larger organization in mind. So before building everything, we asked SMEs what actually stopped them. We ran interviews and surveys with accommodation business across several Mediterranean countries, and 3 barriers came up again and again. First, financial barriers. Not just an upfront cost of equipment, but skepticism about return on investment, because there is a very little evidence showing that sustainable practice bring market advantage, and this is also another pillar of our document. Second, knowledge and skill at the same time that's present in the document. Most managers cannot measure their own impact on water, waste, or energy, for example. One hotel manager told us, we all need clear goals, but we cannot measure that. Nor do we have the people to set proper objective for us. So if you cannot measure, you cannot set goals. If you cannot set goals, you cannot act. Third, the perceived complexity of certification. Standards are seen as bureaucracies and burden, not as a tool. So the bottleneck is not willingness. It is the distance between the tools and the operational reality of 10-room family hotel that is very popular, in particular in the Adriatic coast in Italy, but not only in Italy, where the owner is in the front desk, the accountant, and the sustainability manager at the same time. Our answer is MUST Sustainability Protocol. It takes ISO 21401, the international standard for sustainable management in accommodation, including is 2024 Climate Action Amended and translated into concrete, realistic action for Mediterranean SMEs. Free design choices matter that here. It is in progressive, not prescriptive, no mandatory requirements, but improvement path consistent with the resources a small business actually has. It starts with a self-assessment, so each facility see where it stands and consult only the section it needed. And on circularity specifically, it covers waste reduction, reuse of recycling, circular water management, such as reusing grey water for irrigation and energy efficiency with objective, example activities, responsibility roles, and timeline for each area. And crucially, it was co-designed and validated in workshop with accommodation businesses, professionals, and local authorities across the Med area. We did not write a standard for SMEs, we translated a standard with SMEs. in particular in Must Plus, our new adventure. And now Gianandrea tell you it takes to bring this to the market.
Thank you very much, Guido. Yes. A well-deserved applause to Guido and the University of Urbino. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, I will add the perspective of the value chain, because a good tool is necessary, but it is not sufficient. And a protocol does not adopt or does not self-adopt alone. The first lesson from MUST is that micro-enterprises and the majority of SMEs almost never come across a standard directly. They meet it through someone that they trust. For instance, a trade association, a destination management organization, a destination management company, a consultant they have worked with for years, or local network, or whatever. If we want circularity to permeate the tourism industry, these intermediaries must be equipped to deliver the tool, because they translate it into the daily language of the businesses. The second lesson is about support mechanisms. What worked in our experience is not mere training. Training is not enough, but accompaniment. Somebody who comes back, checks progress, and helps with the next step, a permanent presence. And peer learning for that has proved to be very powerful within the project, but not only. And it worked, because at the initial stage of the project, and we have other project partners here from Spain and Bosnia today, only small and medium enterprises that really were interested in this came and showed up. And this is how it works, will hear about the success and will follow. When the owner, for instance, of a very small accommodation establishment hears of another owner from the same area with the same problems that says, I reduced my, let's say, water bill by reusing wastewater, the antennas come out and to the first hotel owner. But the most important is that this is much more important and much more beneficial for the system than any flyer or any conference that we can make for informing about these issues. Thirdly, a message for the public authorities in the room or even outside the room. We had many this morning. There are representatives here. The message is that the SMEs, what they need is not, first of all, subsidy lines, co-financing and stuff. They need other things. Funding, of course, is very welcome. They need public authorities which are not DMCs. A public authority is not a DMC, even if sometimes they believe they are. A public authority is not an hotel owner, even if sometimes they think they are, or they are made to think that they are, to put in place the best possible environment for businesses. They need their businesses to be heard and to be visible. Having access to benchmarking data, having access to demonstration cases, good practices, and recognition of progressive paths, like, for instance, the MUST protocol in public procurement and destination policies. And it is not only a matter of full certification. That's the end, we could say, of the ascending process. Even if, I don't know, I mean, you should be all aware of, from September 27 this year,
European directive.
Only real certified certifications, let's put it that way, will be at last compulsory. So that's a huge problem for many, 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 many small companies which have kind of certifications, okay? That will not be enough. And But we still do not know who is going to be in charge of verifying this, which will the fines or the penalties about non-compliance with this new regulation, and so on and so forth. So let me close with the message we would like you to take home. Circularity and sustainability as well will not gain ground in tourism through mere compliance to norms. They will do so when even the smallest hotel in the region can see in one page what to do next, who does it, who can help him, and how much it costs. We will see later during the debate that cost is one of the big barriers. Of course, I'm not saying anything revolutionary for small enterprises. This is what MUST has tried to build, and this is what MUST Plus, from the study level to the test level, will strengthen further, hopefully, in the next 2 years. Gracias.
Thank you, Gian Andrea. So it took just 20 minutes to recall about the big elephant that is in the room called MCO Directive Europe. Yes? We know that regulatory context is changing, and it's also an element that will define the next years. So we move from plastic zones to the protocols, to enhancing and accompanying SMEs and making it easier. Now, I'll give the word to Julia. As I said, she's from Malta, and she's the project representative of RecycleMed. Please, Julia, thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I am from the very small island of Malta. We are very scarce in our resources. We don't have a lot of water, we don't have a lot of infrastructure or land, but tourism is one of the most important sectors for us, which is why the RecycleMed project is something that is so valuable for Malta, but also for very similar Mediterranean destinations facing the same issues. So the RecycleMed project focuses on 2 topics, blue and circular economy. One of the main tools of the project that we're currently developing is what's called a blueprint. So this is a self-assessment tool, and it supports destinations in creating what is called the Blue Action Plan for Circular Tourism. So this blueprint is basically structured on 7 different pillars: water, energy, waste, mobility, environment, heritage, and governance. So these are all areas where tourism highly impacts resources. The blueprint is designed around 6 principles that you've probably heard before: reduce, regenerate, rethink, innovate, revalue, and reinvest. So the process starts. Does this work?
Next slide, please.
So basically, the process starts with the blueprint implementation, which is basically where a destination can collect data and input it into the blueprint. What will be generated, as you can see on the screen, is a score, which is an indicator of your blue and circular tourism performance. So it will basically indicate where you lie in terms of your circularity. Next is the territorial analysis, which is a process that basically analyzes your strengths, weaknesses, and any gaps where measures can be implemented for an improvement. The following step is basically involving stakeholders, which, as we've just heard, is very important. You cannot do any sort of actions in a silo, but you need cooperation of different relevant stakeholders. So we've comprised of a system of different capacity building workshops where stakeholders from all different aspects of tourism, restaurants, local accommodations, local authorities, utilities, etc., are basically engaged with the tourism destination to try and identify new measures for improvement and to encourage a shift towards being more blue and circular in their practices. All of these processes together feed into the development of the Blue Action Plans for Circular Tourism. So this action plan, the final goal, is basically to have a guidebook for these different tourism destinations to follow to see how to improve their sustainability and environmental activities. The project is being implemented in 4 receiving territories. There's Cefalù in Italy, Ohrid in North Macedonia, Bar in Montenegro, and Pomoria in Bulgaria. So currently what we've seen with these territories is they are undergoing these different workshops, and they've had very good results with their local stakeholders. Obviously, there are always rooms for improvement, and we will discuss this further down the line. But I'm very excited to see the outcomes of the project once it ends next year. So, thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Very interesting project as well. So we'll finalize this first part of the session with Boris. So please go ahead and present the project about GreenSet.
Well, hello. Good morning, everyone. So we created the project after our experience with different circular transformation or sustainability-related projects. And our experience was that usually the SMEs, which we usually target, are not very interested in that. If they are not intrinsically motivated, that once music stops and project ends, there is no one, in fact, following what was in the project. So let's move to another project. So the project works for the project partners, but not really for too much everyone else. So that's why we tried to be gathered similar institutions like ours, which are institutions which are business support organizations with consulting capabilities, with the goal of creating something that will, after the project ends, will have benefits for us as an additional portfolio in our services for our customers, SMEs, but we'll also create something tangible for those SMEs, and will include circular transformation as some kind of hidden agenda or additional flavor. That's why we are started to create something called METSIM, which is Mediterranean Sustainable Service Innovation Methodology. So our goal is to create methodology which will go bottom up, target micro SMEs to medium SMEs, supporting their new creation of new services, which will be first and foremost economically viable. So it will continue after our support ends, and they will have a increased competitiveness with those services. And we, as an organization, we have interest to continue with providing these services to our users, SMEs, because it's a welcome addition to our service portfolio. So it's not just a methodology, so it's a methodology, but it also, so we considered also how to translate it to other peer organizations like ours. So other business support organizations, or in effect, other consultants, hoping that they will follow up and they will use our results and then continue to do what we start to continue, and then support circular transformation of tourism on the micro level. So if you start creating more sustainable services or more circular services, as a result will be that in general tourism will be more circular or more sustainable. So we went from the bottom up. So in order, a part of the methodology, which is now tested, so we finished the first round of testing with 29 companies in 9 MED countries. So now we are writing the second, let's say, version of our methodology, try to simplify, try to add some elements. It's in fact 5 phases, but I want to go into detail. We also want to see which competencies are needed for consultants to be able to, in fact, implement or to easily understand and then to use it in its own practice. We want to share the best practices and some kind of inspirational cases, because one practice from Malta or Croatia is not, it can be very well applied in Spain or in Greece, and companies are not in competition, so they are open to sharing those best practices. And in order to enable sustainability of the methodology as something that will add, let's say, competitive edge for the business support organization or consultants, we will try to introduce peer-to-peer certification schemes, so that we who worked on the methodology that provide some results and created services which were accepted by the companies will create a first, let's say, group of certified consultants, and then we'll try to spread the word, and then to try to promote and bring other consultants to apply the methodology, to get, let's say, okay, this is the medicine certified, so it worked well, they provided the results, and they can continue with the methodology. So that's our game plan. It's still like we are currently running a little bit more than a year in the project. We will have a second round of testing, and then we hope to finally have the version 3 after the second round, and then we will be ready for to share it, to scale it, and to promote it through the Med Academy, but also through our channels that we actually has as a business support organizations. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you very much. Thank you for respecting the times, but
Yeah.
now I moved my face into the screen, and then I was literally robbed. We were following the tempo, and we have 15 minutes less. So we're gonna have two challenges, talking about circular economy and making the answers short enough to make it interesting for the audience. So, jumping up directly to the questions, it is clear that your tools, your pilot projects, either we talk about destinations, which is a big challenge like in the islands, or models like you present, like a zone, Alessandro, or more projects oriented to focus on helping, advising the SMEs, like the protocol, like the one that Boris was presenting, so enhancing the SMEs, which are the real producers of the tourism effect. We are just consultants, intellectuals, but most of the hotels or restaurants are the ones that are responsible for implementing circularity. So addressing this main goal that will have circularity scalable, achievable in the next year. From your side, from your experience, from your project, either destinations or SMEs, as always, what are the main barriers that we find stopping these solutions from scaling across the tourism ecosystem, especially SMEs? Where do you face, I remember that one of you mentioned already, no? But where are the barriers so we can front them and make it more accelerable? We can start from you, Alessandro, and then we do it quite fast. So we have 12 minutes, yeah?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, from our point of view, again, we target one very specific thing, plastics. We want single-use plastic not to be used anymore in the tourism sector as part, of course, of the global, let's say, economic process within a given territory. Scaling up and transferring this methodology will require another kind of thinking when it comes to governance and how, let's say, to govern these specific processes. And for instance, one of the main barriers in, let's say, transferring such a tool that can work in a territory, can work also in another, if, of course, it's tailored to that specific situation, is that when it comes to the Mediterranean, when it comes to marine litter in the Mediterranean, when it comes to govern this challenge, there's a sort of broken governance. Because, of course, we are talking of a region which is not just the European Union and its directive. So tools are there. I'm coming from the UNEMAP system, so the Barcelona Convention. I have to defend my interests, and I would say, of course, that enforcing such kind of mechanism through dialogue, and also, of course, upholding, let's say, what are the existing acquis in terms of sustainability and circular economy regulations, is already a first step in order to enable these small territories to work within this direction, and of course to have legal regulatory mechanisms, and also the agency and legitimacy from a regional perspective to, of course, enact what is already needed, because the challenge is there. You already mentioned, I think, in your introduction, that this is a matter of resilience also of the tourism sector. So we have to look at the survival of this sector, looking at the different environmental challenges and treating them in a global and regional way.
So Alessandro was pointing regulation. What about you? Where do you see these barriers that stop the acceleration, scaling? Guido or?
Money first.
Money? So it's a
SMEs,
financial element?
Financial. The tool exists, as we know, and so this new project is a good idea to aid the SMEs, but maybe we have to translate in the language of SMEs the advantage regarding the methodology, using this tool, and the approach to circular economy.
Okay, so maybe like Boris was mentioning, is a question also to
Exactly.
facilitating knowledge and training the SMEs in this world of circular economy. May I jump to Julia, or you want to add
No,
something?
I can
Sure.
quickly add something. Time is very important because there are SMEs and SMEs. An SME with 150 employees, they have a management structure, they have a sustainability manager, and so on and so forth. Family-run businesses, they do not have that, and they do not have the time to think about this. And given that it's not compulsory until today, they just don't do it. So time is very important. It will be compulsory from September on, for most of them, not for all. It's a scaling dimension process. Another very important thing is what I call the nice box. It is very important how information is presented. It must be catchy. If it is boring, if it is non-interesting, they will not. It's like when you go to a shop, you see something, a nice box, you don't know what it's inside, but you like the box, or you like, and you're tempted to go and looking for it. And so the whole quality of presentations of consultants, of us doing this, must improve dramatically in order for small and business in the accommodation sector to say, yes, it's something that I like to do, not only because it's useful and it's compulsory, but also because it's fancy and fashionable, which does not harm, because we're talking about tourism.
Thank you. Nice box concept. I like it. Julia, what are your thoughts regarding these barriers?
I think if I had to, I mean, obviously, definitely echoing what has just been mentioned, they're all very important. I think the issue of fragmentation should be noted. So as we know, the tourism sector is not standalone, but it works with a lot of different moving parts, different businesses all working together. We found that actually a lot of SMEs are actually implementing different measures to reduce their energy consumption, water consumption, sourcing local products, but they usually remain in isolation, so there's not much awareness about the actual actions being taken. And I think one way of kind of mitigating this is to have more connection between the different actors, so to allow for an opportunity to have I don't know, different workshops or different data platforms to basically share the different initiatives that businesses are undertaking to improve or minimize rather their environmental impact.
Thank you, Julia. Boris?
Well, I think that there is a misalignment of interests. And I don't think that just having a nice shiny box will solve the problem, because the content is critical. And for me, it's in fact bizarre, because we are trying to show that circular transformation is more expensive than being, more like a non-creating waste. And I'm a mechanical engineer, and total quality management, Toyota stuff, it's all built on reducing waste. So how come we don't see that in tourism, and it's like a greenwashing, or it's like something as a burden instead of common sense? And for that reason, I think it's much more to, being brought to the ground and say, okay, you are making a lot of money, but still you are wasting a lot of money, because from time to time there is a crisis, there is a problem. So sustainability and circular transformation will increase your competitiveness and resilience as a common sense, not as a fashion, not as something that's someone will appreciate. It's good for your business. So and I think we are continuously, just missing that point from our communication with the beneficiaries.
I agree, and it's perfect because we still have room for one extra question. We have 5 minutes. It goes directly connected to this idea that you were mentioning, because I think we have to move from this idea that circular economy is something that it's obviously mandatory in the terms we go, and we have this ever-shooting day that I mentioned at the beginning, but there's also part of, or is a component of competitiveness of any company that it's operating within the tourism sector, for many reasons. Apart from the environmental reason, obviously, cost reasons, added value. Do we have a value proposition in our restaurants, in our hotels, in our destinations based on the way we manage circularity? So the question goes precisely to this way. So how can circular economy become a driver of competitiveness for tourism businesses rather than being perceived as an additional burden? We need to make it happen. So how do we add value through the circular management? How do we add value explaining the clientele, our consumers, that precisely we take care of the resources we buy, having a good policy on purchasing, also regenerating the ecosystem in our resort or destination? How do you see it? How can we make sure that circular economy is not just one more element of this puzzle, it is an element of competitiveness for the tourism business? How do you see it, Alessandro?
Yeah.
We have 4 minutes for all of us.
One
Yeah?
minute then. From my perspective, there's a problem, let's say, with the identification of competitiveness within circular economy, because circular economy strategies normally surpass the company, let's say, boundaries. And when it comes to competitiveness within circular economy, often what is central is innovation. So this innovation should really be mainstreamed in a way, let's say, that can be used in a new model of cooperation. Maybe that there was this idea of co-petition, which was, let's say, cooperating within and among, let's say, value chain, because circular economy is not only a thing that we can realize in a specific value chain. It needs to go across, let's say, the whole spectrum of the production sector. And competitiveness in the sense, let's say, that we are competing to overcome a specific challenge. In this sense, indeed, I mean, this concept can be translated in a value proposition that is embracing, let's say, the whole idea that the sector is moving together toward a common, fair, just, inclusive objective that connect, let's say, the main stakeholders, so your beneficiaries, customers, but also, let's say, the whole community in order to make your value proposition stronger.
Okay. Guido, Gianandrea, which are your thoughts? 1 minute.
30 seconds. For
20.
me, regarding the SMEs, the problem are an information failure, because we, sorry, we need data regarding the building infrastructure, building for example, a new room. We have a partner that is specialized in this fund. So maybe if we make visible the real convenience about the circular economy in general, also regarding, for example, the water, because it's a problem in our Mediterranean at the moment. No, we know that when tourists are in an hotel, is a tourist, is not like a citizen. So the different, it's important. No, that's we have to communicate that we must be citizen everywhere.
Correct.
So information failure.
Information.
Yeah.
Circularity is a component of a business. And as all components of a business, there is a phase which is a cost and the phase which is a gain. The mindset of the businessman has to pass from the costs to the investment period. They have to believe that it is an investment. It will be costly, mostly for small and medium enterprises, and not for one day, not for 1 month. They will lose money complying to circularity, because the gain is very little. They're not like big chains. If I gain 20 euros, another thing that we miss is that we talk very, very theoretically, but we do not have experience as hotel owners. We do not have experience as owners of restaurants. They live the daily difficulties of complying with the need not to lose money and the need to become sustainable and circular as well. So it is very important that we manage somehow with institutions, with our projects, with consultants, to change the mindset. Circularity is an investment, because at some time I will stop losing money by complying with it and I will start gaining money. Why? Because I gain more tourists, more clients, because they come because I'm circular and because I'm sustainable. We don't realize it, maybe we do. 20-25% of Scandinavian tourists now, before choosing a destination, before choosing a hotel, they click on the sites and see, he's sustainable, he's circular, he is not. This is going to increase because it's going to become compulsory at European level. This we have to explain to business.
Julia.
Continuing with what you're saying, basically, as we know, tourists now are continuing to seek a more authentic and sustainable tourism offering rather than the past, which was just what you can get for the least amount of money. And I think businesses that take on the idea of being circular in their nature and being able to show that they can manage their resources responsibly, but also coincided with a strong local identity, will be those businesses that have an upper hand.
Thank you, Julia. Boris, something to add on? We are over time, but
Yeah, I will be short. So that's extremely complex question, and I'm not sure that I'm even able to understand it. But however, from my perspective, I was surprised that there is no massive or med-wide, even nationwide, real business support infrastructure for tourism, like it is in other sectors for startups, for tech development. So tourism are based on communities, on promotion, but not on the business development. And it's very, very difficult to impact tourism sector on the operational level if you don't have infrastructure for that. We tried to address that with that small, let's say, MedSim initiative and hope that it will work in some. But I think that should be one of the ways how to address it, to build infrastructure that will enable business transformation of the SMEs, of the small companies. Big exchange practices, but small are more like intuitive, and then just hope for the best. And then it works like it works.
thank you, Boris. Thank you, all of you. We're arriving to the end. I remind you that before David Mora presented a fantastic paper. You have all the information online, also the projects, so you can have a look on detail of these ideas, tools, mechanisms that they were presenting, that we had the time, short time, so we did the best we could. Thank you very much for your time and being so concrete in giving the answers. The invitation, yes, please. Thank you. Just a small remark to close. The invitation is very clear from all your points of view. It's not about doing more, it's about to do things differently. Circularity has to be an element of competitiveness of the companies and destinations. And we need to do them, or do this together. It's a system. And we haven't talked about, if we want to implement waste management, what is the system in the destination, in the municipality, helping the company to have a proper waste management. That's another story we can discuss in another conference. Thank you, everyone, and let's continue being circular, obviously starting, of course, with a coffee break. Thank you.
Thank you.